George Radanovich, 19th District, California. Welcome and good morning.
Thank you, Chairman Conyers, and thank you, Ranking Member Smith and members of the committee. Appreciate being able here to testify. As co-founder of the Congressional Wine Caucus and member of the Energy and Commerce Committee, which has jurisdiction over interstate commerce, I'm also have been an owner of a California winery. The business of wine is far from the splendor of the vineyards. It's difficult to sell wine, maybe more difficult than selling most other products or services in the United States, and much of that is due to the level and the diversity of regulation and control of all aspects of the business. Wine is a highly taxed and highly regulated business with 50 sets of laws as well as oversight from numerous federal agencies. In such an environment, there are great costs involved not only in making wine but also in getting wine to the market. Tax rates differ. Some states require licenses or permits, and still others require that I pay a fee to register my labels. One state required that I buy a license and hire a wholesaler to distribute my wine, and then I designate a sales territory for that wholesaler, while a second state prohibits me from doing this very same thing. One state makes it virtually impossible for me to fire my assigned wholesaler, even if the wholesaler is not performed as represented. In most of the states we tried to ship into, every bottle of wine had to pass through a wholesaler, which added costs and delay, and even though the wholesaler was doing little, if anything, to help build the brand. For new wineries, it's always a shock to realize how difficult it is to acquire distribution in other states. Even for long-established wineries, significant resources are required to comply with varying state laws. In many cases, compliance with certain state laws discourage my winery from selling in those states. This is common among thousands of wineries. The cost to introduce a wine in a market can far outweigh the potential profits. People in the wine business hear a lot about the three-tiered distribution, but all know that a pure three-tier distribution system does not exist in the United States. Instead, over the years, since Prohibition was repealed, states have chosen to exercise their powers under the 21st Amendment to create hybrid distribution systems that use three-tier principles as a framework. In at least 39 states, state laws allow in-state wineries to self-distribute. Self-distribution laws permit the in-state winery to act as its own distributor, allowing direct sales by the winery. In California, the number of wineries could not increase without self-distribution, but self-distribution stops at the state line. In my home state, I'm allowed to sell wine directly to a consumer. I can operate a wine tasting room at the winery and one other retail location where I can also conduct educational wine tastings. Without this manner of distribution, most small wineries would find it difficult to survive. Many wineries are surviving in today's economy solely on the strength of their direct-to-consumer wine clubs. I remember a time when some states would punish such sales as felonies. Operating a winery in this country is difficult and complex. The wine industry is an industry of different laws and confusing regulations, which is why I wholeheartedly disagree with the premise of H.R. 5034 that states' rights are being greatly impaired by the Commerce Clause, that states should be able to regulate alcohol products even if it means that they can openly discriminate, and that states are on the verge of regulatory collapse without congressional intervention. In my 16 years of Congress, I do not recall another time when an industry group has come seeking complete immunity from nothing less than the U.S. Constitution. I am interested to hear why today's speakers think the only way to prevent such deregulation is to surgically remove that portion of the Constitution from applying to their industry. I wait for an explanation as to how this assault on the Constitution will better serve the industry, the states, the nation, and the American consumers. H.R. 5034 is being promoted by the beer, wine, and spirits wholesalers. They present this committee with a simple request. They want Congress to expressively give states the ability to regulate alcohol without limits of national fairness and market equity. They say that without this express permission from Congress, states will be unable to regulate effectively. As a member of the Energy and Commerce Committee, I urge this committee to listen carefully and respectfully to today's testimony. If we allow states to set their own alcohol laws and market ends at the state level, we lose the cohesiveness and energy of our national market. By allowing trade barriers that openly defy these concepts of an American market, we become 50 nations instead of one. Small businesses like my winery will see themselves shut out, and it will become harder and harder to make a profit and provide jobs. Again, I want to thank the committee for giving me this opportunity to testify on this important legislation, and I ask that my full written testimony be submitted to the record. I would also like to submit for the record a recently released analysis by the Freedom Works Foundation, along with a resolution that recently passed the California legislature opposing this bill.
Without objection, so ordered, and thank you, George Radanovich.